So my talk this morning is answered prayers. For the past 2 weeks, I've been feeling a bit under the weather. I developed a light case of pneumonia. My doctor told me if it was a light case, I wouldn't want to know what a big case of pneumonia was. And it was really my own fault. It really was. I had participated in an outdoor funeral knowing I was sick, and that led me into the pneumonia. Now, it's kind of a funny thing in our tradition. Ministers don't often own up to the fact that they have a illness. They don't want to own up to it. They want to deny it. And I think it's kind of silly. We're all humans, and from time to time, we're going to have health challenges. That's the rules of the game. And it's not a sin to be sick. It's just a mistake not to be honest about it. I knew this one minister in Atlanta, and he had something removed off his ear, and he was so embarrassed about it, he used makeup to cover it up when he appeared for the congregation. To me, it's important to encourage people who are going through health challenges by sharing the ones we're facing. We don't know. That might be a source of inspiration for people if we're just being honest. To have a health challenge doesn't mean that you don't have sufficient faith, but it can be an opportunity to avail yourself to the wisdom of the universe to live as well as you can live with what you're facing. Our teaching never promises us that we're not going to have problems in life, but we encourage you to use the spiritual tools, gratitude, prayer, and meditation, to access the wisdom of the universe to meet your challenges. The power that set the rings of Saturn into motion have no problem taking care of a mole on your ear. And these challenges that that come to us as we go through life, as we age, as these bodies age, they change. I remember when I was in college, I one time woke up on Friday morning with a bad case of strep throat. I had 103 temperature, that sort of stuff. I went to the infirmary. They gave me penicillin. On the Saturday night, I went out partying with my friends. I did not have that kind of recovery this time with pneumonia. It was slow going. And I had to recognize the bit-by-bit healing and give gratitude for the bit-by-bit healing that I was experiencing, and give gratitude to my body that it was recovering. The healing process required a lot of rest, a lot of reaching out to the medical community, and also reaching out to my prayer partners to do prayer work for me. And I stayed as much in touch with them as I did with the medical community, maybe even more so. Because one thing, they weren't charging me every time I heard from them. Now, I always like what my teacher, Kennedy Schultz, said about dealing with illness. He said, if you got a headache, while you're walking to the medicine cabinet to get an aspirin, do an affirmative prayer. To recognize the challenges, to get the medical care, but also use your spiritual tools. And this is, to me, the right approach. Now, when it comes to medical help, I do have a couple of guidelines. You want to make sure you like your doctors. Make sure you like them. Make sure you get a good feeling from them. Make sure they listen to you. And make sure you feel like they're in a partnership with you to approach your healing. And remember, it's your body. You're the one that's paying the bill, so you're the one in charge. And you don't need anyone's permission to chart the course of your healing. I had a wonderful friend in Atlanta, and she had a serious health challenge. She got a serious diagnosis from the doctor. The doctor she was going to, he didn't give her very much hope at all. It was pretty dire. I was talking to her, and I told her, I said, Chris, what are you planning to do? And she looked at me, and she just matter-of-factly said, I'm getting a new doctor. Yeah, I'm getting a new doctor. I'm getting some hope. Now, it's okay to listen to the experts, but remember, when it comes to your body, you're the expert. You're the expert. Nobody can tell you how you're going to heal. No one can tell you when you're going to leave life. This is between you and God. You know, hospice is supposed to only last 6 months. You're supposed to be in hospice for 6 months. Jimmy Carter has been in hospice for 18 months now. December, Rosalind passed away. I have a very good friend, and he's very connected with the Carters. And he called me up, and I said, you know, typically when couples are that connected, when one goes, the other one is sure to follow. I said, I don't know if Jimmy will see the new year. It's now the summertime, and Jimmy is still kicking. He just welcomed his newest great-grandchild. It's up to us to make those decisions, and we need to honor that. And of course, this thing can happen in reverse. My mother, she got a serious diagnosis. They told her, well, you're probably going to be around, you know, another year. 10 days later, she was gone. 10 days later, she was ready to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Death is not a failure. It's a transition. And sometimes healing doesn't include these bodies of ours. Sometimes the healing is releasing these bodies and going back home to spirit. Now, when it comes to doing prayer work, when we're going through a challenge, I think it's always, of course, you want to do your prayer work, you want to include the things you need to get healed. And for me, of course, that meant less congestion, more energy, no fever. But I also think it's powerful to include things that go beyond the healing. So when I was asking my prayer partners for prayers, I asked them also to make sure that in a couple of weeks that I'd be well enough that I could really enjoy my niece's visit when she came. I asked them to do prayer work that, that come the fall, that I would be able to get up to New York City to see Elton John's new musical on Broadway. Yeah. Cast a greater dream for yourself in cosmic mind and let that pull you towards your health. So, thank you. So initially, when I started not feeling so well, I was planning to go to a conference in Atlanta, and I really, really, really wanted to go to this conference. I really wanted to go. I was looking forward to it. It was a group of ministers. They're coming together. They wanted to talk about what they were doing to succeed, what they were doing to keep their congregations going. A friend of mine who's a minister in Atlanta, he had actually paid for my slot to go to this conference. So I desperately didn't want to disappoint him. And initially I was doing lots of prayers for a quick recovery. Unfortunately, when it came the time for me to hit the road, it was pretty apparent I wasn't going to be able to do it. Now, did my prayers not work? Dr. Holmes, the founder of our teaching, he said prayer is much like mixing paint colors. You mix green with blue, you know what you're going to get. And he said every time we do a prayer, it's answered if we have sufficient faith. Now, that may have been true for Dr. Holmes, but for me, it sometimes works that way, but there are other times there are challenges. And it doesn't mean that prayer's not working. Perhaps it means that there's something greater for me to know. Perhaps that knowing is to have more compassion for my body. Maybe it's about me setting boundaries of what I can and can't do, which don't include a funeral in the heat of St. Augustine during the summer. Maybe it's for me to know something better for myself. The healing of the pneumonia was important, but maybe it's more important for me to come to an understanding of how I can treat my body with respect. Perhaps there's a greater lesson for me to learn than going to the conference in Atlanta. Perhaps Spirit had a greater healing for me in mind than the one I was conceiving of for myself. You know, at this level of creation, we only have a ground level view of what's going on. And there can be a larger perspective that we may only see at a different place. It feels for me as though we're in a cosmic dance with creation. And it's not always a straight line. Sometimes we think we know what's best for ourselves, and it turns out that that's not the best at all. One point last week, I had read everything, every book that we had in the house. I had read everything. And there was a book that a friend had given me for Christmas that I hadn't opened up. It was a 1,000-page biography of Barbara Streisand. 1,000 pages. And even though I've seen Barbara twice in concert, I like her. She's very talented. I'm more of a Dolly Parton kind of guy. So I was hesitant to pick it up, but I started reading it, and I was really just immediately, she pulled me in. Very interesting. Very honest, very straightforward. She pulls no punches. She talks about the difficulty of coming up through her experience. And she owns up that she wasn't always the easiest person to be around. She wasn't necessarily a happy or cheerful person. The most amazing thing that I realized is that she wanted to be in the entertainment industry, but she did not want to be a singer. She wanted to be a serious actress. That was her goal. Amazingly, she got a chance to start singing in a little small nightclub. Phyllis Diller was the headline for the nightclub. And as soon as she started singing, everyone around her could tell she was on to something. And everyone started encouraging her to pursue the singing. And her career was off. And look at all the amazing things she's done since. If we knew everything about our lives, what would be the point of going through this physical existence? We're here so that we can learn our true value, so we can learn how important it is to be in relationship with Spirit, to be in co-creation with Spirit. There's something for us to learn. There's something for us to know. There's something for us to be. The goal isn't necessarily to become a famous singer or even to get to a conference. The goal is to learn to create and trust our relationship with God. Dr. Holmes says we all can become receptive to divine wisdom. We all can be receptive to divine wisdom. He said we're surrounded by infinite mind, and we can become receptive and draw through our thinkings ideas that are unique to our spiritual DNA. The painter will draw ideas of artwork. The inventor, new inventions. The singer, new songs. You have a spiritual DNA, and through this mind, you can pull from your own consciousness and interpret the cosmic ideas that will work for you. An individualization of universal spirit. You are a unique channel of the mind of God. And without you, the universe wouldn't be complete. You are needed and you are necessary for the universe to unfold, even with all your little weird nooks and crannies of your personality. We are not here to be perfect. We're here to be human, and being human is enough. I like the story of the Jewish rabbi. He was a wonderful teacher. At the end of his life, he was on his deathbed, and his students surrounded him. And they said, "Rabbi, are you worried that when you get to God, God's going to ask you, why weren't you more like Moses? Why weren't you more like Noah? Why weren't you more like Joshua?" The rabbi summoned his energy, and he says, "No, I'm not concerned about that at all." He said, "I'm worried that when I get to heaven, God is going to ask me, why weren't you more of yourself? More of you. You are God's unique gift to creation. And we want to honor that for ourselves. You see, the world has already had a Moses. We're grateful for the wisdom that he brought. But we don't need another Moses. We need you to be the best and the brightest, to be the most of you can be. There was another interesting story about Barbara, how she really broke out in her career. She had gotten this little gig at this little minor club in New York City. She got one song on a Broadway show, one single song. Now, this Broadway show was supposed to be the vehicle for Elliot Gould. This was going to be his big break. She had just this little minor role in it. And the song was that she was going to play a telephone operator. You remember back in the 50s how the telephone operators at big corporations, they would sit in front of a big bank of switches, and they would be on chairs that had rollers, and so they could roll up and down the bank of telephone switches. And she had a song to sing. Well, the problem was they couldn't come up with how to choreograph this. They didn't know how to get her dance or movement to go along with what she was doing. And she kept telling them, I need to be in the chair with the rollers, rolling up and down this bank of switches. The director wouldn't want to hear it. The producer didn't want to hear it. They kept telling her, no, that's not going to work. She kept insisting on it. Finally, they were like, well, it's just one song, you know, it's not that important. Let her try it. The first night she did it, she brought the house down. She was the breakout star for that show. It made her career. She was the one the New York Times mentioned when they reviewed the whole show. It's ours to decide what's right for us. What part of God that wants to shine through our heart and our soul. And there is a part of God that is urging, desiring to shine through your heart and soul. You have a gift that only you can bring to this creation. And all of creation is waiting for you to break out in your song. Now, we talk about unanswered prayers. When we have prayers that are not answered, what do we do then? Well, the first thing we want to do is to practice one of our best spiritual practices I can urge upon you. You want to change your life? This is a spiritual practice that will reveal wonders for you. And it's easy, it's simple. Just be in gratitude for what you have. Just be grateful for the blessings you have. And then take a moment and go into meditation, go into quiet, and envision what part of God wants to be born through your life. How you can become a blessing to yourself, those around you, and the world. How you can use your words, your thoughts, your hands to create the best life you can create, to becoming the brightest, shining light of God's possibilities. You see, you have a song within you. You have a dream within you. And your heart and soul is urging you to step up, to step out, to be that answer for God's possibilities. It's what Spirit has called you to do, and you can do it. Spirit has never been disappointed in you for one single moment. And there is nothing this world can throw at you that will hold you back. You and God are an answer to every single problem you will ever confront, and now's the time. Dear ones, now's the time when this world is facing such challenges. Now's the time for you to get out there and sing your heart out, to bring a song of love, of joy, of happiness, to join the celestial chorus. It's yours to do, and you can do it. This is the truth in your life today. It's the truth in mine, and so it is.